Gareth Davies.
I'm pleased to be taking part in this debate this afternoon on an issue that has evoked a reaction like nothing I have seen before in Welsh politics, and I hope that 8 months on from the rollout, the Welsh Government give this petition the proper consideration it deserves, and I thank the Petitions Committee for the work that they've done on this so far. The Welsh Government has clung to the default 20 miles per hour policy thus far, not because the people asked for it or wanted it, not because there was solid evidence that it would achieve its purported goals, but because it was the latest fashionable policy amongst the political class here and in Europe, and they didn't want to miss out on that trend. Never did it occur to them that the vast majority of people do not like this policy, and to put it mildly, and that sentiment has not gone away and won't do. The Welsh Government should remember that Wales is their constituency, and they are not elected to represent solely stakeholders, pressure groups and the opinion pages of The Guardian. They are elected to represent the Welsh people who, in their wisdom, have rejected this failed policy through the greatest act of political participation in Senedd history. The views of 500,000 people in Wales cannot and should not be ignored, particularly when the evidence for speed limit reductions to 20 miles per hour such an unsound evidential basis. We already know the evidence from bodies without a vested interests. The 2022 Queen's University Belfast study cited in the petition shows that the default 20 miles per hour speed limits have seemingly little impact on crashes, casualties or driver speed. And I will reiterate that the Welsh Conservatives have, and always still do, support 20 miles per hour speed limits outside of schools and hospitals. In a second, I'll just finish this point. But a default 20 miles per hour policy is not a common sense approach, and this is what the signatories to the petition would like the Welsh Government to understand. Lee.
Again, the Belfast study, which, as you say, is in the petition, which we've said many times that this is a different thing. It's not comparing like with like. That studies are already existing 20 miles an hour in a city centre. And the conclusion of that study is that it recommends the council take an area-wide approach as a default, which we actually had to do. So if you are going to quote studies as evidence against the policy, you should best to understand the study first. Well,
it's interesting you raise that, Lee, actually, because I actually left out a couple more of the bodies that out of my remarks. I only quoted the Queen's University. I noticed there was evidence at the time from the RAC and the AA against that, but they were ignored. How long have the RAC? Very reputable bodies, I must say. Very reputable bodies, nationwide bodies with a good reputation, who have been around since cars were invented. So if you're saying that they don't know what they're talking about, then that's a very bold comment to make. And on the issue of air pollution, what data we do have since the new speed limit was rolled out also shows no evidence of a significant improvement in air quality. But on the real-world consequences of this policy, the harm it has caused to public transport in my constituency alone is alarming. Arriva Buses Wales have told me personally how damaging this has been to their passengers. It has restricted the mobility of the elderly and disabled who rely on local bus services. Bus operators across Wales have had to withdraw stops from their route in order to maintain punctuality, such as the withdrawal of the Tweedmill bus stop in my constituency on the 51 route, where elderly shoppers are now ferried to the side of a busy A road, far from the vicinity of the retail outlet. The Welsh Government promised us that this was not a blanket policy and appropriate exemptions will be made. But since it has been rolled out, we have learnt that this was an empty promise to placate the people. I've tried to make the best out of a bad situation in my constituency and work with Denbighshire County Council to get exemptions to the 20 miles per hour limit approved, but they have been kicked into the long grass thus far. I submitted a letter to the Council in November of last year with a list of roads suitable for exemption, such as the Melodon Dip and Rutherland Road, amongst many more, where 20 miles per hour is causing chaos. Yet 6 months on, not a single exemption has been made to one of these highways. The advice continues to local authorities is clearly not good enough, with only 0.6% of roads in Denbighshire being exempt from the 20 miles per hour speed. I raised this issue both in the Senedd and with Denbighshire County Council. I'll just finish this point since January, and the exemptions have not been made. Carolyn.
Earlier I said that councils in North Wales were just waiting for the further guidelines before making their exemptions, because I know Denbighshire have got a list of 25 roads to make back up rather than do it twice. So I just wanted to make that point there. And there's been discussions with the Reaver and they're putting forward roads as well. So do you think that that's going to be useful going forward?
Yeah, well, I've heard a different story. I've heard that they're going to member area group meetings in Denbighshire County Council, which are not public meetings. They're private, and they're going to be discussed and voted on and decided in private meetings that are not publicly broadcast. That is the latest news I'm getting directly from councillors. And when you actually live in your constituency, then it's quite easy you get to learn these things quite quickly. And on top of this, and on top of all this, the estimated hit to the Welsh economy, well, I don't think it's below the belt. I think it's just somebody speaking true words. But at a time when the UK's growth is struggling to get off the ground, but despite the evidence that it does work, despite the multitude of negative consequences and the lack of consent from the public, the Welsh, I'm happy to take another intervention if you so were.
Just to correct that. I actually live in my region. I represent of North Wales. Do you agree that that's correct?
Yeah. Apologies. Yes, of course. I'm just saying I'm a constituency member and I live in my constituency. That's all I'm saying. Yes, thank you.
I think I'd stick to the topic and the petition in question. Where members live
I think we're
is a matter
away
for them.
From the subject. And focusing on things that...
I think you're coming to an end now, aren't you, Gareth?
Yeah, well, celebrations, hey! We support 20 miles per hour outside schools and hospitals, but the default application of this speed has to be reversed. The petition before the Senedd today is an opportunity for the Welsh Government to take stock of the nearly 500,000 voices telling them that they don't want 20 miles per hour. So we urge all members to accept the public's verdict on this and vote to scrap this failed policy.
The Cabinet Secretary now for North Wales and Transport, Ken Skates.
I'd like to thank Jack Sargent and the members